Hello everyone. In this video lecture, we are going to see the topic HTTP request and response messages from the first unit of web technologies. First of all, let us see about the protocol HTTP. HTTP is the Hypertext Transfer Protocol, which is the main communication protocol used in the internet to transfer the data. The data are nothing but the hypertext documents, which will use to perform the communication in between the servers and the browsers. Browsers are the entity where the client will send the request to the server. So the hypertext is a text which is displayed on the computer. The hypertext will have the link to other text that the reader can immediately follow. So when we click the hypertext, the next web page associated will be opened. Hypertext Transfer Protocol specifies how client request data and how servers respond to this request. The client makes a request for a given page and the server is responsible for finding it and returning it to the client. The browser connects and requests a page from the server. So this diagram is showing how the connection in between the client and server is established and how the data requests are processed and proceeded by the server. So first of all, the client initiates the TCP connection to the HTTP server by sending the uniform resource locator address, that is, for example, www.google.com. So here, when try to make the connection, port 80 is the default port for the HTTP server. At once, the HTTP server at host www.google.com waiting for the TCP connection at port 80 accept the connection and by notifying from the client. Then the client send the HTTP request message into the TCP connection socket. Then the server receives the request message and it will construct the response message containing the requested objects and sends the message to the client. The client receives the response message containing the HTML file and displays the HTML file to the client. Then after the communication, the HTTP server closes the TCP connection and also the client closes the TCP connection. Then HTTP message. Two types of messages will be transferred in between the client and the server. First one is request, which is from the client to the server. Second one is responses, which is from the server to the client. Then we are seeing the message entries. That is, the request and response message will have these kind of fields to store different kind of header informations. Request line, general header, request header or response header, entity header and entity body. First of all, let us see about the request message. The first field of the request message is request line. It has three parts separated by the spaces. They are method name, local path of the requested resource and the version of HTTP being used. Yes, typical example for the request message is get/path to file index.html HTTP 1.1. The important method called as get method is the common HTTP method which is used to get something from the server, and other methods include post and head method. When we should mention the method names in the capital letter only. Then request header. The request header, HTTP protocol header, consists of these fields. To store the header, from is the email address of the user. User agent will mention the client software, accept file, accept encoding, accept language, referrer. Referrer is nothing but the URL of the last document the client displayed. Then if modified since. Then content length. So this is the example HTTP request message. So it is starting with the get method, file name is there, HTTP version is there, then all the fields are there like host, connection, accept language, user agent. User agent is nothing but the user's browser details, etc. Then response message. The response line also having the several field. Here also the HTTP version is same format as present in the request line, that is HTTP x.x. The status code will be mentioned in the response line. The status code is meant to be computer readable and the recent phrase is meant to be human readable. This is the example for the HTTP response headers, which consist of the field like header, server describe the server software, then the current date, last modified document, then date of expiry, then the location, pragma, MIME version, link, content length and allowed. This is an example for the HTTP response, which consists of the filled fields for all the necessary headers. Then HTTP methods. There are some methods are used to perform the HTTP transaction in between the client and server. For example, get, head, post, put, move and delete. The get method, it is used to retrieve the information from the specified URL and it is assumed to be safe. Repeatable operation by the browsers, caches and other HTTP aware components. For example, displaying a balance of bank account has no effect on the account and can be safely repeated. So we can repeat the informations with the help of the get method. The proxies may automatically retry get request if they encounter a temporary network connection problem. The post method, used for operations that have side effects and cannot be safely repeated. For example, transferring money from one bank account to another has side effects and should not be repeated without explicit approval by the user. So the post method will not be repeated. So when we try to refresh a page in the Internet Explorer that resulted from a post method, it displays the following message to warn the user. That is, we will get the warning message like this, whether we want to redo the same operation. The post request message has a content body that is normally used to send parameters and data. HTTP response status codes. There are several status codes are associated with the HTTP response messages. For example, informational, successful, redirection, client. There are several errors will be occurred and it is notified to the user, like client error. Client error may be of two types, forbidden, not found. Then server error may be of two types, service unavailable or HTTP version not supported. So that's all about the HTTP request and response messages. Thank you.